No one saw this coming. When the news first broke about Diddy's legal battles, most assumed it would play out quietly behind closed doors. Just another high-profile case swept under the rug. But then, something changed. Headlines started swirling, cryptic posts surfaced online, and suddenly the courtroom became the center of a media storm. At the heart of it all, a name no one expected to hear: Will Smith. Whispers turned into questions. What does Will have to do with this? Was it support, a character witness, or something deeper? The moment he walked into that courtroom, you could feel the tension shift. This wasn't just about Diddy anymore. Something bigger was unraveling, and Will was about to drag it into the light. Cameras weren't even supposed to be rolling when Will stepped in. He kept his head low, his face unreadable, but the energy in the room shifted instantly. Reporters scrambled, legal teams whispered. No one had expected him to show up, let alone take the stand. Why now? Why this case? People online were quick to connect the dots. Some pointed to his long history in the industry. Others dug deeper, claiming there were ties between Will and Diddy that the public never knew about. But the most chilling theory? That Will wasn't just there to talk. He was there to expose. Sources close to the trial claimed Will's testimony wasn't scheduled in advance. It was a late addition, one that allegedly left even the prosecution stunned. Whatever he was about to say, it wasn't part of the original plan. But it was clear, he came with something to get off his chest. It started off calm, too calm. Will's voice was steady, but there was something in his eyes that said this wasn't just another day in court. Then, without warning, he dropped a name. Not a legal name, not even a direct accusation, but it was enough to send the entire courtroom into chaos. He spoke about certain circles in Hollywood, private events, exclusive invites, the kind of gatherings most people never hear about. But what made everyone freeze the way he described them? You walk in thinking it's just a party, he said, then you realize it's not. He never pointed fingers outright, but the message was clear. Rumors had been circling for years about underground scenes in the industry, and Will was now tying himself to those whispers, voluntarily. The implications were massive. Gasps echoed across the room. One juror allegedly had to excuse themselves. People online claimed the judge even paused the session to restore order. Will didn't say much more. He didn't need to. Just a few carefully chosen words. And suddenly, everything about the case looked different. Will's words didn't just land in that courtroom. They echoed across the internet like a shockwave. Within minutes, clips were circulating online, and old rumors that had been buried for years came crawling back into the spotlight. For over a decade, there's been quiet talk about Diddy's secret lifestyle. Stories of wild after-hours parties, hidden cameras, and powerful names who showed up and never spoke a word afterward. Nothing ever stuck, and nothing was ever proven. But after Will's testimony, people started connecting the dots again. Fans dug up a 2018 interview where Will said, "There's a side of this industry most people wouldn't believe if they saw it." At the time, no one knew what he meant. But now, that clip is trending all over again. Even more unsettling were past moments that seemed harmless back then, like when comedian Cat Williams hinted at Hollywood parties with no phones allowed, or when 50 Cent joked about certain celebrities getting invited to special rooms. Back then, it sounded like gossip. Now it feels like foreshadowing. Will didn't confirm anything that's been said in the past, but his silence on the specifics only added fuel to the fire. And once the internet starts piecing things together, it rarely stops. This wasn't the first time Diddy's name had been tied to something explosive. Over the years, whispers about the music mogul's alleged double life have surfaced again and again. Some dismissed them as tabloid noise. Others weren't so sure. In 2023, a civil lawsuit rocked the industry. An ex-partner alleged manipulative behavior, control, and disturbing details about their time with Diddy. The case was settled quickly, quietly. No admission of guilt, no further questions. But it didn't stop the stories. Then came the leaked photos, the NDA rumors, and even anonymous claims on shady forums that described a culture of silence around certain elite events. Former associates, bodyguards, and ex-collaborators have all hinted carefully at Diddy's behind-the-scenes power and the things he kept hidden. Now, with Will Smith stepping into the picture, People are asking, was this a coincidence or a chain reaction waiting to happen? Because for years, the same pattern has played out. Allegations surface. Diddy stays quiet. Everything gets swept away. But this time, something feels different. This time, the silence might not hold. The moment Will left the stand, the internet exploded. Hashtags like Diddy Exposed and Will Smith Truth trended within hours. TikTok clips of courtroom sketches racked up millions of views, while commentary channels on YouTube dissected every line from Will's testimony. Even more telling, the reaction from Hollywood. A few celebrities who once stood firmly beside Diddy suddenly went silent. Some unfollowed him on social media. Others, like Meek Mill and French Montana, began issuing vague statements like, "Sometimes the truth comes at the worst time." On X, formerly Twitter, users speculated wildly, "This makes Weinstein look like child's play," one post read. Another claimed, "If what Will said is even halfway true, the entire music industry's about to unravel." Brands quietly started distancing themselves too. A major fashion label pulled an ad campaign featuring Diddy just 2 days after the testimony. Spotify reportedly flagged several of his tracks for internal review. Whether or not the legal outcome changes, one thing is clear. The public perception already has. And in this era, sometimes that hits harder than any verdict. At first, most assumed Will Smith was there just to testify, maybe as a character witness or to clear up a few background details. But as the hours passed, it became clear. This was personal. While Will never directly identified himself as a victim, his tone shifted when the questions hit closer to home. He paused longer, chose his words more carefully. At one point, he simply said, "I stayed quiet for a long time. Too long." That one sentence sent shockwaves through the gallery. Rumors have swirled for years that Will once distanced himself from certain industry figures without explanation. There were quiet contract cancellations, unspoken rifts, and sudden changes in his inner circle. Back then, it looked like career decisions. Now people are looking back with a whole different lens. It's been said that Will might have witnessed things, possibly even been caught up in something darker. But because no official claims were made, the speculation remains just that. Still, the weight in his voice suggested he wasn't just speaking for others. He was speaking from experience. And that's what made his testimony so powerful. It wasn't just a statement, it felt like a warning. The courtroom might have gone quiet after Will stepped down, but outside those walls, the storm was just beginning. Legal analysts started weighing in immediately. Some say Will's statements could open the door for new investigations, especially if others decide to come forward. "This isn't the end," one attorney told CNN. "It might be the beginning of something much bigger." Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team went on the defensive, releasing a tightly worded statement denying all claims and accusing the media of creating a trial by social frenzy. But damage control only goes so far. Sponsors are pulling out. Streaming platforms are reviewing collaborations. And insiders say there's talk of upcoming exposés with receipts. Even those once loyal to Diddy are backing away. Former collaborators, DJs, and artists who built careers under his label have gone quiet. Not a word. And in Hollywood, silence is its own kind of statement. The bigger question now isn't just about Diddy, it's about how deep this rabbit hole goes. If Will's words spark more voices, this could unravel decades of buried stories. Names might drop, allegiances could shift, and entire legacies might be rewritten. Legal analysts started weighing in immediately. Some say Will's statements could open the door for new investigations, especially if others decide to come forward. "This isn't the end," one attorney told CNN. "It might be the beginning of something much bigger." Meanwhile, Diddy's legal team went on the defensive, releasing a tightly worded statement denying all claims and accusing the media of creating a trial by social frenzy. But damage control only goes so far. Sponsors are pulling out. Streaming platforms are reviewing collaborations. And insiders say there's talk of upcoming exposés with receipts. Even those once loyal to Diddy are backing away. Former collaborators, DJs, and artists who built careers under his label have gone quiet, not a word. And in Hollywood, silence is its own kind of statement. The bigger question now isn't just about Diddy, it's about how deep this rabbit hole goes. If Will's words spark more voices, this could unravel decades of buried stories. Names might drop, allegiances could shift, and entire legacies might be rewritten.